Hello there, welcome to this other podcast. This is a very special podcast. This was something we mentioned. This is Dion Wyn. Introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, how's it going?
And plug your channel where you're at it.
Oh yeah, it'll be somewhere in the description. That's all you need to know, it's fine.
But yeah, so it was during the Who's podcast we made a joke we'd have to do cats at some point, like August or something. It's only January the next year. Finally, we get around to discussing cats because I think we're the few people who really like the film Cats. We're the oddballs. We're the ones who are strange.
Yeah, it's had a year to breathe now, though, when you think about it, because it's actually been just over 12 months since it actually came out.
Yeah, and it's still kind of seeping through the culture a little bit. It had its first massive backlash.
Yeah.
Everyone hating it. It had the kind of feelings of doom before the film even came out. Like for 6 months before, everyone said this is going to bomb. This is going to be a disaster. And it came out and it bombed. It was a disaster.
Yeah.
And that's like interesting in it because it was like, oh, I like disasters. I need to see this now.
Oh god, yeah. It was like I remember when the first trailer. It was on the July the 18th in 2019 when the first trailer came out, and I was in Holland on a conference, and it was about 10 at night, and I watched it, and I was kind of drunk, like as you do in a conference, you just have a couple of beers and all that. I watched it. I was like, this is the freakiest like trailer I've watched in some time, and I thought to myself, this is just going to be absolutely odd and bizarre, and it kind of was.
Yeah.
But, I think that's the weird thing. I think, when you talk about the reactions to Cats, though, it's like I think a lot of people just joined the bandwagon of hating it without even watching it at the first time. So I think you're preemptively going to go into it thinking you're going to hate it. And to be honest, I've seen the musical, and the musical is one of the weirdest theatre experiences I've ever had, because you've just got literal humans in leotards with cat faces on, dancing up and down like the stairs, gyrating their pelvises in your face. It was just never, the musical itself is just one of those things that people know it's not the best, but it's one of the longest running musicals of all time in theatres. And you kind of know why, because it is a bizarre experience.
People who love it, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like, I think if you've seen the musical, I think sometimes it helps you going into the film. That was like one of my kind of like recommendations to people. If you like, you can watch Cats on YouTube for free anyway. But it was just like, it's kind of understand it a bit more, because I think that's the weird thing about Tom Hooper's one, is that it doesn't actually make sense at times, and I think that's why people get lost.
Yeah, at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I've watched it twice. The first time I saw it just to see it, and the second time it made more sense to me. But the first time, not a clue. I wasn't following the plot at all. It was just like, I think I know what's going on, but I don't really care. I'm more interested in seeing how weird it gets.
Yeah.
The second time out, it actually makes more sense.
Yeah,
really.
Definitely. I think it's like, I don't know, it has like this weird psychosexual element to it, though, that I find quite weird, because like basically, they're dancing into a cat orgy at one point. And obviously, this is a what is it, PG rated film? I think it's not exactly subtle with trying to hide away from what potentially is actually going on.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing I was going to bring up instantly, was the cat orgy. It was like, what the hell am I watching? This is weird.
Yeah. It is bizarre. Like, I still remember I saw it in the cinema twice, right?
Yeah.
And the second time I watched it, I was actually in London, and literally the people that were watching it were just wailing, laughing. Some people were singing to it, genuinely singing to it.
Yeah.
And then the minute this like orgy scene happens, they just know it's like, oh god, this is meant to be a family Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. Tom Hooper's a weird director, I think, anyway. Like when you look at Les Mis and the way it's kind of like made, it's very in your face, a lot of handheld cameras. And then he moves into Cats, and it's just like, it just doesn't, you wouldn't even think it was a stage play based on that film. You would just think it's just like a guy that huffed a lot of crack and just went wild and add anuses to the CGI.
I know the butthole cut, release of butthole cut. Is there?
Hey, if you can get the Snyder cut, you can get the butthole cut, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the one film I remember being like this, and exactly the same levels of set up, and then everyone knows it would be a disaster well before it happened. And then it came out, it was Hudson Hawk in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember that one, and it was exactly the same feel. It was like, you saw it 6 months before the trailer started to come out, you're like, this is weird. There's no way this film's going to make any money. It's weird as hell. And it came out, and it was almost everybody was waiting to trash it. And it came out, and it got trashed, and then it was gone. And then about 6 months later, people say, I kind of liked that. It was weird. It was odd.
Yeah.
I just, and I was one of them because I saw it in the cinema. And that same feel, it was genuinely odd. It was a film that no one said would make. It reminds me of the comment that someone made with Bonfire of Vanities, a Brian De Palma one, where, because that's when it went completely wrong. And he said, only a genius could make a film this bad. He says, a hack would never go this far wrong. Only someone who's really confident in what they're doing would actually go this far wrong. Sort of like with Boorman with Exorcist 2 or Verhoeven with Showgirls. They go so far.
Yeah.
Well beyond what people want to accept, but they're going to go where they're going to go. There's that feel in the Cats. Is that same feel of, I'm going to make this film, I don't care what people like. That's what I love about it.
That's the weird thing about it. You are completely right, because when you think about the whole idea, I remember the first thing I heard about when they cast, you've got, who have you got in this? Judi Dench, you got Jason Derulo, Taylor Swift, Jennifer Hudson. You got some of the biggest stars in the world coming into one film. Okay, you're bigging up something that potentially is an awards contender, and they were considering putting it through for awards season. And then when you start hearing about the cat school, and they had to go through 6 weeks of intensive cat classes, and then you start seeing these pictures of the set, which is 10 times the size of a normal human. Everything's just exuberated. And then obviously the minute I heard about this fur CGI, I was like, this is going to be like a Dr. Moreau kind of vibe now, where it's just going to go to the extreme of, we're going to see human faces on cats. And then when you see that trailer, you were just like, oh God, this actually happened.
Yeah. It's like, they just thought, he's made hits. He must know what he's doing. Yeah. And then they see a film and it's like, oh, wait a minute, he was making a weird film. That's it. He wasn't making a normal film. He wasn't thinking with his business hat on. He was just...
No. I think that's the thing when you're a visual artist in any way. I think sometimes you can go too deep into your mind. And I think Cats is kind of the perfect kind of symbol for that, where you don't potentially not listen to everybody around you, or potentially you just think that this is actually the only way you can make it, and then there you go. But that's the thing with musical films as well. It's like Cats, yes, is one of the biggest musicals of all time, but it shouldn't really be a film. I don't think it should never have existed, but I'm glad it exists.
Yeah, I'm too, because I was I'd never had any interest in this until I started seeing the trailers, and I was like, this is odd. This is not right up my street. Yeah. This is really odd.
Exactly.
And I think it's one of those films, the things that don't work, along the things that do work, combined to make it what it is. It's not just... There's some things in it are genuinely terrible, and there's some things in it that are actually quite impressive. And I think if it was too good, it wouldn't be enjoyable. But if it was much worse, it wouldn't be enjoyable. You have to have those terrible moments. Because one thing I noticed was the theatre actors and theatre singers, when they were on, it was really good because they knew what they were doing. I mean, there's certain numbers, like the train number. It's terrific. There's and there's a sequence around the house with the two burglar cats. That was terrifically done. And whatever you had that going on, it was always really well done. You're really enjoyable. And then you got the Rebel Wilson thing that was the...
with the cockroaches.
Yeah, I think if there's one act that destroyed a film, it might be that one, because I think people are still trying to get into the film, and then that happened, and it was like, what the hell, man? What's going on? Because I saw it, I was like, what is this? This is terrible, but it's odd, and I'm fascinated by this train wreck that's happening now.
I think what helps the film quite a lot is that the fact that you actually have like an eye to the film, and that's, you know, Francesca Howard's Victoria. Yeah. She's not actually an actual character in the musical, but because they go through this kind of like entry point where she like looks around the world that she's in, I think that's a good idea. And at times I feel like Hooper forgot about her, and then we just go into these random like Rebel Wilson's singing. But to be honest, like Francesca Howard's like the prima ballerina for the Royal Ballet in London. You know, this was her first ever film, and the fact that she is the lead in probably one of the most panned films of all time is absolutely crazy. But that's the thing as well. It's like with Jennifer Hudson, who is it Grisabella she plays, isn't it? Yeah, Grisabella. It's like when she was cast in that film, they said to her, "Listen, this will get you your next Oscar nomination." You know, that was part of her deal. You know, this was meant to be like the next one that she got after Dreamgirls.
Yeah,
and it's probably considered one of the. Again, her performance isn't bad. I think she's really good as Grisabella.
Yeah. No, the thing is, she never really got the damage from this film. Though she wasn't. No. She's one of the people that said, "Oh, she was good. It was a film." Yeah. It wasn't like shoot and panned. I thought the lead actress or dancer, she was good as well because she knew what she was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like if she wasn't there, it would have been much weirder. I think you'd have some real problems. But
But I think that's the thing when you think of cinema, is like you have to have a protagonist, because if you ever watch the musical of Cats and kind of the way it's set out, there is no protagonist. You just meet these cats. Maybe like old Deuteronomy, who's played by Judi Dench in this film, might be like the linchpin of it in the musical, but it's not a predominant character. So you have to have that kind of character to carry on. And at times I found her performance actually quite compelling as well. I think she kind of like travels through it, you know, really good. But I don't know. I think the problem is like more people remember like Ian McKellen as Gus the theatre cat, or you've got Ray Winston as a growl tiger. You know, why is Ray Winston in this film?
Yeah, it's so weird.
Exactly.
But I'm so glad it happened, because it is so odd that it's like you might know why this film is so much fun to watch. It's someone casting Ray Winston in a musical. It's like,
exactly,
who else would think of that?
Well, that's the weird thing. Like, unless you checked IMDb before you went to see the film, you'd never have known that he was in it. You know, there was no casting announcement that Ray Winston was in this film at all. Yeah. And then it's absolutely bizarre. And you think even like Idris Elba cannot sing to save his life, but he plays McCavity, like one of the best characters in the film, if you ask me. But well, in the musical, he's a terrible singer. But I think he just elevates it even further, because he's a bad cat and he's a bad singer. So it kind of like compels the film even more.
The thing is, he's totally into the film, though. He's totally into it.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So his dedication really helps. But I think the worst singer I found was Judi Dench.
Oh, my God, yeah.
She was... It really was like Cat singing when Judi Dench tried to sing, because it was like... I don't know if she ever could sing, but she can't now. And it was like every time she sang, it was like so painful. But again, it was wonderful because it was so terrible.
Yeah. I think, you know, when she sings at the end and when she sings to the camera to tell the audience how to treat your cats, I think it just perfectly encapsulates Cats. It's entertainingly bad, but it has a message.
Yeah, it's wonderful and weird. It's just strange, but a lot of these actual singers around her are so good. It makes it even worse. I mean, I like the Taylor Swift bit with Cavity song. Yeah. It worked really well. It kind of showed you why you needed musicians here rather than actors. Really, you needed. I kind of liked the Ian McKellen one, because he was just talking rather than singing. He knew his limitations, so he came up best because he understood. I'm not a singer. This will be really bad. I'll treat it almost like poetry rather than musical, and that kind of worked because he kind of knew what his range was. He was a bit more self-aware.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think that's at least he was honest with himself. But I think pushing Judi Dench to play Old Deuteronomy. Old Deuteronomy in Cats is usually played by a man as well. Yeah. So she's like one of the first like females to play that character. But it was just that raspy kind of voice that she had. Apparently she used to be an amazing singer back in the day, but it was just smoking's just taken her voice away from her. And I think that's just kind of funny. It's just very bizarre. But then you go back to Taylor Swift, though. It's like Taylor Swift was actually meant to be in Tom Hooper's Les Miserables. Yeah. She didn't get the part. So the fact that they put her in this, and I really like her scene when she sings about McCavity. Yeah. Bumblerina is like, she's not a prominent character in it, but her impact in the film adds more than just ticket sales. You know, a lot of Taylor Swift fans will go and watch this film, but I think she actually added entertainment value to it. And as you say, it's always better when you have professional singers. You know, when you think about Russell Crowe in Hooper's Les Miserables.
I've actually seen that film.
Oh,
I know. I've got I haven't watched it. It's like one of those wonders. Like, I'm sure it'll make a good video once I finally watch it. It's like,
it's the only. Sorry, carry on.
I'll let you.
It's the only time I've ever been to the cinema, like in a local cinema, and I've seen a standing ovation at the end of a film is Les Mis. People love it that much, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it's So I noticed there was a certain section of films. No one really actually go into start doing the performances of why they should be cat, and you actually let the theatre people do the stuff. The film definitely picks up a lot because you're actually seeing people who are professionally good. And you're thinking, this is really enjoyable. Then it goes weird when we Winston again. It's like, and
it's kind of that it's kind of that mashup, isn't it? It's like old classic Hollywood film where you have these big stage acts, the big songs, the big numbers, and it's just hybrid into this like CGI world that we're just so accustomed to now. And I think it's just like, was it really a trial and error, or did they really feel that confident going into it? So obviously Hooper was like editing the hell out of this film even like 3 hours before the actual premiere in LA. You know, when he turned up, he looked like death because he'd been working like 18 plus hours. But also at the same time, I've heard he wasn't very nice to the team that he had. But I need to listen to the DVD commentary, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, the weird thing is, it is almost a musical version of Howard the Duck. Really. Isn't it?
I haven't thought about it like that.
It's so weird. It's a weird film, and it's the same Howard the Duck thing of when George Lucas did Howard the Duck, he was so huge. Like, no one could say no to him. No one could say, this is not a good idea. Just don't.
Yeah.
And same thing here was like, he's won all the Oscars. Anything he does must be good. Not really.
It's always it does happen to so many directors, but I think that's the weird thing because Tom Hooper, when he did so well with Les Mis, he went to do The Danish Girl, which didn't do so well, even though Alicia Vikander won an Oscar for it. And then he disappeared, and then it was like he announced Cats, and people were like, Cats? Yeah. Because apparently he's meant to be making Miss Saigon, which is another musical next, but will he? I don't know.
Well, the thing is, he's a big hit and then he'd a failure with a property people probably saw as this is a problem to do. If it's something more conventional, they might say, we'll give him another chance because this looks more normal.
Yeah.
I think whoever did this film was going to bomb. I don't think you're ever going to get a film from this that was going to please many people.
No.
At least you got something weird out of it.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's the way this, you know, I've mentioned this quite a few times to you, but like when I review a film, I think of like, what's the legacy of it? And I think Cats actually has a legacy. And to the extent, I genuinely do feel like it's going to be one of these cult films in about 20 years time. You know, they're doing, before this pandemic, we had actual, you know, Cats themed film screenings where people dressing up as cats, they were singing along to it, there's drinking games to it. So I feel like there is like a little horde of people.
Yeah.
And just as we talk about showgirls on so many streams, it's like that kind of army will just grow and grow and grow as time goes by because people will start embracing it. But, you know, I think out of our circle of film people, I think we are the only two that actually like this film, which is crazy.
I think so. And it was like, yeah, because I think we're the ones who like some of the weird stuff anyway. It's
yeah,
like, really
definitely.
I think when people thought I like cats, it was like, that's not surprising. That's just not.
No,
It's not a shocker at all.
No, it's a pleasant. I don't know. I was pleasantly surprised by it because you can. I think when you watch a film, you should never really go into it expecting something. Especially, we all anticipate this film was going to be terrible, but I actually went in not really expecting much, and I was like, do you know what? For what I got, I was very happy. I think it just continuously just made me just quite joyous, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like my favorite song in Cats is Mr. Mistopheles, the magician cat.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that whole sequence. I thought it was great.
Oh yeah, I mean that whole section, Stockley's thing all worked really well. I mean, the whole anytime those kind of professionals. The funny thing is, the scene when we watched the James Corden one was really weird. Yeah. The dysfunction between him not being good and the people around him being so pitch perfect. It just felt you were watching like the destruction of the film there and then. It was like you'd someone who didn't fit, you'd everyone else who did fit, and it was like if you just had someone different there.
Yeah. It would work. This is the thing. That's the thing about Corden is like he gets cast in so many of these types of films. You know, he did the Sondheim Into the Woods for Disney a few years ago with Emily Blunt, and I was just like, why the hell are you in this film? You shouldn't be in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's my issue with James Corden is like, yeah, he has a theatre background, but I think selling a film like this, to be honest, it's one of my only major downsides to this film is James Corden's Christopher Jones, because I'm just like, I don't despise him, but it's just, I don't find him to be an appealing kind of song dancing kind of actor.
You couldn't understand what he was singing.
Really. Oh, no. That's true also.
And that's the thing is the professionals, you do understand the lyrics, understand what the point was. And when you got to Rebel Wilson or James Corden, I had no clue what they meant to try to project. It just was just like a mumble of stuff that was coming at you, and it was like, I don't know the context. I think films like that are the ones that go really weird. I think a lot of fans like them because they admire the fact that they go so strange and just so personal. Definitely. And it's like the guts to take all this money and flush it down the toilet and just do your own thing. Because I remember a critic like reading him saying, he was talking about Rise of Skywalker, and he said, I'd much rather watch Cats than watch this again. Really, because it's like this is so much more fun. It may be more weird, but it's so much more fun and personal than something like Rise of Skywalker, which is just this mechanical thing. It was like, yeah, I breathe him. It was like, yeah, same here. It was like, give me a personal bomb than over something that's very
exactly. Exactly. I don't think it's to the level of like a Tammy and the T-Rex kind of good bad, but I think for what it is, according to my letterbox, I watched it 4 times now. So 4 times in a year. So
I've seen it twice, but I would definitely see it again. But the thing is, I've done 3 videos. This is my 3rd video that covers Cats in a year. That's like shows you how much it's kind of got into my head somehow. I did a video on it. Then when I discussed films that were disasters, I had to come up again. And then this one is like, obviously, but those kind of things I quite like is the films that just don't quite come together. But I think it's that combination of it not quite come together, but come together enough to be somehow weirdly perfect in its flaws.
It's your shtick, as they say.
Yeah,
it definitely is 1,000%. I think that's why we get along so well, because we just enjoy this kind of crap. It's
the dodgy, it's weird.
Exactly, nonsense. But it's exactly it's a massive studio film, but it's potentially one of these oddly bad but good films that you'll ever watch in your whole life.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones that's like, how did this get through? How did they actually put money into this? It's because they thought they could make money off it, and they just weren't paying attention.
Yeah, I don't even know how much the budget for this film was, but I know apparently it only $95 million it says it cost, but I'm sure it was double that.
Yeah. The funny thing is, it was a working title who produced it, who do all these more normal films. They do the Coen Brother film, they do like the Richard Curtis stuff. It was like, it's weird seeing them involved in something this odd, you know.
Yeah.
This wayward.
It actually says that it was about $60 million the film made, and they made a loss of $120 million.
Yeah, they spent a fortune, publicity, and everything else, and hoped to buy the way out of a disaster. And it was like, nope, we're not going.
That's the weird thing, because when you compare it to something like Prince of Persia or John Carter, those were bigger financial flops than what Cats was. But
yeah,
I don't feel like those two have the kind of relationship with some people. I know some people do actually love John Carter.
Yeah, I love John Carter. I think John Carter's slowly building up. Prince of Persia was just a boring film. But,
exactly.
And I think it's because this one's so interestingly weird. It just like there's something there. And again with Showgirl, it's another one. It didn't cost that much. They didn't really lose anything. It was it was viewed as a disaster. Like because it was such a catastrophe critically and
I think the thing was, I've done quite a lot of reading on Showgirls. I think it's because so many people were saying that this was like Paul Verhoeven's like award shot, and then people are just like, this is going to be like the riskiest like Oscar nominated film ever, and then it just went. But it was that. Sorry.
Yeah, if it wasn't that, it was a piss take.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's just like that. I think if people would stop hyping or being negative towards a release before, then it would help them a lot more. But
we all do that though. There's always expectations, and then eventually see the film for what it was rather than what you wished it was.
Yeah. But I think that Cats trailer was like one of the highest viewed videos of 2019 as well, because people had to see it to believe it.
Yeah, it was. I watched it a few times just to see and try and work out what the hell is this? This is
exactly.
And you'd send to your friends and say, "You got to watch this. You have to watch it." It's bizarre.
Yeah, it was quite funny because like usually I go to see these kind of things with like a few of my friends, like musical films, and nobody wants to go see this with me.
Yeah, it's just no.
But like I said, the second time I watched it, I had a good time purely just because the audience that I had with me was quite positive, and they were just having a wild time with it. But I look forward to seeing more of these cats themed screenings whenever we can actually go back to the cinema. But
yeah, it will definitely start happening. Like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, that kind of feeling.
Exactly. It's like The Room. I'm sure there'll be things thrown at the screen or whatever during cat screenings one day as well. But it's just gonna take time.
Yeah, I think Cats is a lot easier to sit through than The Room. The Room's hard to sit through.
That's true. Yeah, I've only ever sat through The Room twice.
Something from The Room, it's hard to sit through because it is genuinely bad.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
But
this has something to it.
Yeah, but I think something like Troll 2 is much more fun to watch because it's so bizarre for me, at least.
Oh yeah.
But The Room I found very hard to sit through because I just thought it's bad, but it's not bad. Yeah. It interests me really because
I think for me, the way I look at Cats is to the extent of how much like I love Jason X or Halloween Resurrection.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like trash, but it's a trash I could watch over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's a complete disaster, but you love it despite the fact it's a disaster of epic proportions.
Exactly. I look forward to seeing how people change perceptions on it eventually.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm happy with a little group of people.
Yeah.
I enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. It will slowly seep through and turn a lot of people into furries. It was suddenly the stealth furry movie.
To be honest, when I put my Zoom on, I thought, oh my God, he's going to be dressed up as a cat, isn't he? But
no, I was more about you than me.
Oh God, no, I wasn't. I was never going to do it. I thought the background was enough, to be honest.
Yeah, that was more than enough. I don't do costumes. That's one step too far.
Well, you've got an old Deuteronomy kind of look to you with the beard and everything. So,
Thank you. That's.
I don't know which cat I would be, to be honest. I haven't taken a quiz online before, so maybe I should take a quiz and find out.
I've never knew you could do that, but
there's a quiz for everything, isn't there? So,
I know, I suppose, yeah.
So I'll do one, and I'll let you know which cat allegedly I am. I like to be Mr. Mistopheles, but probably not. Maybe you should do a sing-along version of it one day.
No, I can't sing. I was told.
Judi Dench can't sing.
No, literally, I was told as a kid, just mime. Just don't sing, just mime. I was a child. It was that bad even then. It was like, just please, no sound out your voice, just nothing.
I think that's the funny thing about Cats for me is just like every time I think of it or every time I've watched it, I always have the song stuck in my head then. I think the opening song I love. I think Jellicle Cats is hilarious.
Yeah, the thing is,
it's so of its time.
When I watched it this time, the next couple of days, they were over my head.
Yeah.
Because I used to work in pantos in theatre, and I get used to that all the times. Like the songs you're in the panto with, and they're in your head till mid-January, and you just couldn't get rid of these songs.
It's just, I think the opening keys to Jellicle Cats, like it just every time it just stuck in my head when I think of Cats. Then every time. But also, it has one of the most iconic songs in musical theatre, and that's "Memory." One of the biggest songs of like theatre in general.
You think Britain would get the film instead of the pantomimes and thing? You think you'd get how weird it was?
Yeah.
You thought they would actually have got it a lot better than they did.
I think it'd be quite funny if you could have interpreted Cats as a pantomime, actually.
Yeah, and I think people are just so far out to get Tom Hooper. I think they were just out to get him. Like whatever this film was, if it was a bit off, they would have gone for him. But I think because it was so off, it was like, this is our chance to get someone we don't like.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about Hooper as well. He's got a contract deal with Universal. I think like he was meant to, I think it was a 5-picture. So I don't know how they're gonna get out of it now because he's still got like, at least one.
Well, they'll just say we couldn't find any projects together or something. They'll find a reason. Wait and see.
I think that's the thing. It's like I can't see Hooper working in America for a very long time. He'll come back to the UK and he'll just get loads of jobs on television and stuff like that. It'll be fine. But in America, I think he's just needs to disappear for a bit.
No, the thing is, those directors that have the big bombs, they normally just go on holiday for a year or two. Then, so by the time they come back, people have bombed horribly in between.
Yeah,
like
I think that with David O. Russell quite a bit because obviously he made, what was it, like 3 films in 3 years where he was nominated best director, best film, best quartet, and then he disappeared because like that Joy film with Jennifer Lawrence was terrible. But now he's coming back again now to make another film. I think that's what directors do, isn't it? They just take time.
Yeah, because they just let people forget because of so many other bombs around them. Like I mean,
exactly.
One of the funny things I always remember is when I read about when Showgirls was actually just been released, Paul Verhoeven's already filming Starship Troopers. So it was like, well, it was too late.
But look at Starship Troopers, though.
Yeah, that really confused people.
Exactly.
And I was like, he's a fascist.
What a picture.
Yeah. Another film I've done so many videos on. It's insane.
I can't go wrong with it. I think a franchise video would be great, like discussing everyone. Even there's an animated film, right?
Yeah, animated or sequels or everything.
Like, I've not seen the animated one before, but I'd be intrigued to see
they're
that
okay. They're not. None of them have the satire of the first one, which is the problem. And
well,
it's nothing for the satire.
No Verhoeven, no satire, I guess.
No.
Anyway.
So is that us then for Cats?
Meow.
Yeah. That's what I was expecting you to say to start. Meow.
No. That's not my style, but it just came to me now. I thought, why not?
All right. So thank you very much. And
thank you very much.
This will be up very soon. We hope you all enjoyed. We hope we get more Cats fans. I
Join the club.
I always think that Hughes should be a Cats fan. Really.
He should be.
He should be.
He has cat-like qualities.
I know. That's what I was wondering. I was like, he should be a Cats fan. We have to get him round.
Yeah, definitely. One day, maybe.
Yeah, one day. Yeah, that's us. Bye.
Bye-bye.